Who or what has helped you build your confidence the most as a kicker? Any mental tools or advice that have really stuck with you?
Confidence is a big thing, and I think that there's a couple ways to build confidence. One is from past experience. For me, being a kicker, having experiences like what I talked about in high school or having experiences in college where I've made big kicks, those experiences now I can fall back on, and that helps me be more confident about what I'm doing. Another way to build confidence is preparation. Preparation is so important in really every aspect of life, but especially in athletics, where people always talk about that Utah kick and they're like, I can't imagine having to go out there. I'm like, well, you can't imagine having to go out there because you haven't been spending the last 6 years, 7 years preparing for moments like that. But when you're prepared, it's like going into a test, where if you're taking a big test in school and you haven't studied at all, you're going to be really nervous for that test and you're going to be worried about how it's going to turn out. But if you've been studying every day and you're ready, then you go in to take the test and it's a breeze and you're confident, you know the answers and you can roll through it. It's the same way where if you prepare well, then it's a lot easier to be more confident in anything that you do, especially in kicking.
What's up, Grand Nation? I'm your host, Jaden, and today's episode is powered by Harris Investment Group, the go-to team for high net worth investments. Looking to win big in real estate. Just like building a championship team, Harris finds high-performing properties and real estate assets that deliver strong returns and long-term results. If you're ready to level up your financial game, visit harrisinvestmentgroup.com. Today's guest is an absolute beast, Will Ferrin. Will, my guy, pumped to have you on. Mad respect for pulling up. This episode's going to get everyone hyped for real. Will Ferrin, a standout placekicker for the BYU Cougars, has rapidly ascended as one of the college football premier specialists. After transferring from Boise State in 2022, Ferren made an immediate impact at BYU, setting a school record with 24 field goals in the 2024 season, earning accolades such as Big 12 Coast Special Teams Player of the Year and Louis Groza Awards semifinalist. His clutch performances include a memorable 44-yard game-winning field goal against Utah, securing BYU's first victory in Salt Lake City since 2006. With a career field goal percentage of 85.4%, Ferren holds the highest in BYU history. Beyond his on-field achievements, Ferren is known for his calm demeanor and leadership, serving as a co-captain and exemplifying how to grind on and off the field. All right, Will, let's talk about that Utah game, the 44-yard game winner with 4 seconds left on the clock, and you walk on like it's just another day. What was going on through your head in that moment? Were you calm, nervous, or like what were you feeling or thinking?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like my whole life, I grew up a BYU fan, and I've watched BYU versus Utah so many times. But it's crazy, like when you're in the moment, it doesn't feel like when you're watching TV, it seems like this big dramatic thing, and in the moment, it's just I'm playing a football game, and I've done it so many times, and we've spent so much time preparing to go on the field and do that moment specifically. So in those moments, you get nervous. I always it's normal to get nervous and to be a little shaky, or sometimes I have a little gag on the sideline. When I feel those emotions, but then being able to just put them behind me and focus on the kick is something that's super important. So
yeah, that'd be crazy because, I went to that game and those fans were crazy for how it's a smaller stadium, but those fans are loud and it's a rival game too, so they try to bring the noise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and for that game especially, it's you get probably the worst out of the Utah fans and you probably get the worst out of the BYU fans too, because everyone cares so much about the game, but that's also what makes it so much fun is everyone cares about it, and if you win the game, everyone's excited, and if you lose the game, everyone's sad, and it's really like a big team thing with the fans. Like the players are feeling the same way that the fans are feeling, and it's cool. It's cool to be a part of that and to experience that.
Yeah, there's definitely connection between winning and happy and
yeah.
sad and disappointed and losing. When the pressure's on and it's coming down to your kick and the team's driving down the field, what do you do to block out the noise and just focus on the moment?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time preparing for moments like this, and part of that is just kind of developing a routine. So I know it's like you hear about people talking about free throw routines in basketball, and they do the same thing over and over again. And in football, it's the same deal where I go out, and you always see kickers take the 3 steps back and 2 to the side, and I've got kind of this breathing exercise that I do while I do that, where I'm taking a big breath, and I look up at the uprights. And going out and doing that, it has a way of locking me in. So, like, on the sideline, I'm pretty lighthearted on the sideline. Like, people talk about having, like, a whole thing that they do, and I don't do that. Like, the camera, I think the TV camera caught me on the sideline smiling, and everyone asked me about that. And it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like I was trying to put on this look for the kick. It was just we were hanging out on the sideline, and I was with my friends, and we were watching the game, and once the time comes for me to go on and kick a field goal, then that routine starts, where I'm running out, I'm getting into the moment, I do a dry swing where I just swing my leg while I'm running out, and it just kind of locks me in, and then go into my steps, and I look at my holder and give him the nod, and I'll say, like verbally out loud, I'll say, okay, which is his cue to get the snap, and something about hearing my voice in a big old stadium of fans yelling, it just calms me down and helps me to lock in for moments like that. And that's the same every time, so it can be repeated.
What's your like final thought, like before you kick the ball?
It's funny, when I go into that routine, it keeps me pretty blank. So I'm out there and I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking like, what if this kick doesn't go in? Or what if this kick does go in? What's it going to be like? I try to just focus on the process, focus on what I'm doing, what I think about every time, nodding at my holder, and then just doing what I do. And then doing that, it keeps my mind pretty blank. So there's not really much going on up there when I'm in those big moments.
And that probably definitely helps in those big moments.
For sure. I would hate to be thinking about everything else in those moments. So it's good to have that and be able to fall back on that. Yeah.
Have you ever had moments where you didn't believe in yourself, or how did you push through that self-doubt?
Yeah, I get a lot of questions nowadays about like handling pressure, like being born with the clutch factor, like that kind of stuff. And it's funny because I feel like when I first started kicking, I was naturally really bad at all of that stuff. Like I doubted myself a lot. I didn't think I was good enough to be playing in high school varsity games. I didn't think that I could perform under any circumstance. We'd be driving down the field and I'm like, would I rather we lose, or like, do I just want the defense to stop them so I don't have to kick, kind of thing? And I didn't want those moments, and I doubted myself. And even to the point where there was a kick in the playoffs my sophomore year of high school. So it was my first year playing varsity, and we were down by 1 going. It was a playoff game to win. We kicked a field goal with like a minute left in the game. And looking back on it, there was never a chance that kick was going to go in, just because I was having negative self-talk. I was telling myself that there's no way. I heard my teammates talking about how there was no way it was going to go in. And I just never believed, and then sure enough, it didn't go in. And now I look back and I'm like, I could have approached it in such a better way. But in that moment, that was the best I knew how, and it didn't work out for me. So being able to experience that stuff has definitely been a huge help for me now at this level.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like, how much of sports is actually mental. If you're thinking, oh, I can't do it, I won't do it, or don't do this, you're way more likely to fail and not succeed. So it's kind of just crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have, like, daily routines or something small you do every day to keep your mindset strong, even when life feels heavy or busy?
I try to. I'm not super consistent. But something that I've been trying to do lately is have a really good morning. I feel like if I have a good morning, the rest of the day will go good, and it'll start me off on such a high level. And part of that's waking up early, giving myself time to eat breakfast. There's a couple books that I've been reading and diving into those in the morning, or stretching. Even meditation is something that I've gotten into a little bit, and I think those are things where it's like, if I can wake up and if I can do these things in the morning, the rest of my day goes so much better. And I've noticed that so much, but I'm still working to be a little more consistent on it.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, for sure.
What's something about being a kicker that most people don't realize, mentally, emotionally, or even physically, that makes it a unique challenge?
That's a good question. I think something that people don't realize is how much time passes in between kicks. So growing up, and there's a lot of similarities too between kicking and golf. So I don't know if you golf.
Yeah, I golf.
But
Yeah.
I use a lot of analogies there where it's like a lot of times when we're kicking, it turns into like being at the driving range where we're hitting field goals over and over again. And it's kind of the same thing. It's repetitive. And I want to find a way to make my training feel more like I'm at a golf simulator. Because in a game, when I'm kicking, there's sometimes hours in between kicks where I kick, I warm up, there's an hour about that passes, and then the game starts, hit an opening kickoff. Who knows how long it is till we score a touchdown or get into field goal range. And there's a lot of time that passes in between everything. So to practice that, I'll go and stand on the side of the field and wait 5-10 minutes until my legs aren't super warm anymore, and I'll go and kick a field goal and then run off the field. And that's how it is in a game where it's like there's games where I'm kicking a ball for the first time an hour and a half into the game, and I've only been on the sideline, so I can't really warm up. I think that's one of the most unique things about kicking that you don't see as much in other positions is you might get one chance and it might be at the end of the game, and you have to be ready for it and you have to put it through. And there's not much space on the sideline to get warm, but it doesn't matter. The fans don't care too much about that. You just have to execute when the time comes.
Yeah, you only get one chance. Your fans always expect it to go in. It doesn't matter how. It's like, how did you miss that? It's like,
yeah, the fans aren't saying, "Oh, but he hasn't kicked in so long, so he's okay." They expect it to go in.
Yeah, the fans are saying, "Oh, he missed it. Wow, how?" Have you ever had a moment where you missed a big kick or something didn't go your way? Like, how did you bounce back from that, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think that kick in high school is probably my biggest moment I think of, where it was my first year. I lived in Orem till I was about 15, and then I moved up to Kaysville. So I just got into a new city, new school, and I was kicking field goals for the varsity team. And we were pretty good that year. We made it to the playoffs, and we were a 1 seed playing against a 4 seed. And it was raining. It was a cold playoff game. And at the end of the game, I was a pretty confident kicker at that time for how young I was. But then I just wasn't in a great mental space, and I went out and attempted a field goal with a minute left in the game, and it was terrible. Like, I think it was closer to going out on the sideline than it was to the uprights. Oh, it was not close at all. And in that moment, it was like I missed a kick in the Super Bowl. Like, we go into the locker room after the game, and I was a sophomore, so I had a locker in the sophomore locker room, and everyone else had a locker in the varsity locker room. And I just remember going into the sophomore locker room and just crying, and I could hear the seniors in the other room. They just played their last game, and they were sad, and that it was a really low moment for me as a kicker, because it was like, I'm new into this, I'm confident, I think I'm really good, but I've just experienced this massive failure right at the start of getting serious about this. And then going into the next year, I think I approached it in a really good way, where I was like, how can I get better at this? How can I get better at handling pressure, being in these moments and actually wanting to be in these moments? And I worked on it, and I started getting a little more intentional about the way I practiced, and I really wanted it. I really wanted to be good, and I really wanted to be able to handle pressure. And the next year, I got 1 field goal, so I felt like it took a long time for me to really bounce back from it. But over time, I look back, and I think that's one of the best things that could have happened to me at that time, where it was hard, but it sparked this new fire to get better at something that's now been a huge blessing in my life.
Yeah, and you probably did extra training and wanted to get better so you don't have to feel that disappointment. Oh, yeah. And it's like you let your whole team down and your fan base and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Who or what has helped you build your confidence the most as a kicker? Any mental tools or advice that have really stuck with you?
Yeah, confidence is a big thing, and I think that there's a couple ways to build confidence. One is from past experience. So, like, for me, being a kicker, having experiences like what I talked about in high school or having experiences in college where I've made big kicks, those experiences now I can fall back on, and that helps me be more confident about what I'm doing. Another way to build confidence is preparation. Preparation is so important in really every aspect of life, but especially in athletics, where if people always talk about that Utah kick and they're like, I can't imagine having to go out there. I'm like, well, you can't imagine having to go out there because you haven't been spending the last 6 years, 7 years preparing for moments like that. But when you're prepared, it's like going into a test, where if you're taking a big test in school and you haven't studied at all, you're going to be really nervous for that test and you're going to be worried about how it's going to turn out. But if you've been studying every day and you're ready, then you go in to take the test and it's a breeze and you're confident, you know the answers and you can roll through it. It's the same way where if you prepare well, then it's a lot easier to be more confident in anything that you do, especially in kicking.
That's awesome. I think it has importance to have a mentor or just like knowing what confidence and like understanding it. Mm-hmm. How does faith or belief systems play into you having your ups and downs of being an athlete?
Yeah, with sports, it feels so important. Everything feels so important. Like, I think back on that Utah kick, and I'm like, how would I have handled that if it didn't go in? Like, it's easy. It went in, and it's like, it's all good, and everyone's happy, and it's a cool thing. But I would like to think that if that kick didn't go in, I would have handled it in a similar way. And that's because, for me, my root isn't in sports. It isn't in results. It isn't in the ball going through the uprights. I think having faith, having religion, I'm a member of the church, and that's something that, like, having a testimony and having a relationship with God is so important to me. And it brings a perspective that you don't have as just an athlete. As an athlete, it's you spend so much time to perform. You spend time to be ready to go and execute on the field. And if you don't execute, then it hurts and it can break people down. But when you have faith and you realize that there's so much more than sports, when you are a son or daughter of God and you have that identity and that meaning, then it changes everything. And it's good to keep that perspective of, like, sports are important, but they're not even close to the most important things that are going on right now. And understanding that makes everything a lot better.
Yeah, I really like that. Sometimes with sports, for me, I feel like it matters, like, so much in the moment, but then after it's like, I mean, it matters, but it's like what really matters is having a testimony, a strong foundation to continue with the church. And also, it sometimes helps me to know that, like, if I lose this game, it's not like the world's over because I have a strong foundation and I will live for it. Yeah, I will repent and be baptized, and
there's so much more. Like, I always talk about how, like, I talk about my mission experience. I served a mission in Vancouver, Canada, and I talk about playing college football. Like, both of these things were so cool and such, like, influential things in my life. But I think if I could choose one of the two, I would choose a mission, because learning to live like that and learning how to put others above myself brought so much joy. And that's joy that even playing in 100,000 seat stadiums and stuff can't replicate, because turning out towards others and putting God first is such an important thing, and it really does make your life better in every aspect.
It's the only true joy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you ever have a time where you took a break from the game mentally to reset? How do you know when it's time to sleep, like step back and recharge?
Yeah, I think my mission was an awesome experience for me, where I was going through recruiting and coaches didn't want to talk to me a lot because I was going on a mission. So I even had a coach, I went on a visit, and he came and shook my hand, and he said, "What do we got to do to get you to not serve a mission?" It was the first thing he said, and I was like, dude, really? But football was such a big part of my life, and then putting it away and just, like, not worrying about it for 2 years was so big for me, and it ended up being such a valuable lesson that I came back and I got into it again, and it was a good thing. And now I've kind of taken that, and every year after the season ends, I won't kick at all for like a month and just put it away, get my mind on something else. And I found that when you put it away and you let your body relax and you let your body focus on other things, then you can come back even stronger than you were originally. And I learned it on my mission, and now I've been able to apply it every off season, where you step away and your body resets and your mind resets, and then you can get back and give more attention to it than you would have been able to.
And similar to that, that's why it's sometimes good to play multiple sports, because you've learned multiple skills and different ways to do things, and it takes your mind off of one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I recently got an injury because I've only been focusing on one sport, really.
Oh, yeah.
And overdoing it a little.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been tough, but...
Yeah. Yeah, our lives need balance. So being able to provide balance and not just put everything, all of your focus into one thing is a great thing physically and mentally. So it's all about keeping that up.
We'll now have a quick message from our sponsor, Ivy Hall Academy, a premier educational institution in the heart of our community. At Ivy Hall, we're more than just a school. We're a family of learners and leaders. At Ivy Hall Academy, we believe every student can shine with the right guidance and opportunities. Our tailored approach ensures students not only excel academically, but also grow through leadership and creativity. With small class sizes, dedicated teachers, and a curriculum that includes leadership training through the Leader in Me program, Ivy Hall students are prepared to tackle challenges and lead with confidence. Discover the Ivy Hall difference and see how we prepare students for success in every aspect of life. Visit us online at ivyhallacademy.org or call today to schedule a tour. Some kids feel anxious or like they'll never be good enough. What's one thing you'd tell them if someone's feeling like that?
Yeah. Something is some advice that a sports psychology coach actually gave me at one point is controlling what you can control. So I think a lot of us kind of get in the mindset of like we see the big picture and we are so stressed about everything going on, or we're stressed about so-and-so's doing this, or we're stressed about we want to do this eventually way down the road, and how do I get that? And being able to just focus on the present moment and control what you can control without getting too caught up in everything going on is a valuable skill. And it's hard to do, but I think just trying to stay in the moment and control what you can is something that can benefit everybody.
Yeah, because you can't control how many field goals you kick in a game or in a season.
Yeah.
But you can control in those field goals if you're prepared or ready to kick them.
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
The controllable.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever hit a point where you felt burned out? What helped you get your motivation and love for the game back?
I don't know if I've felt super burned out. I think that there's times where I need a break. I think there's times where I need to just take some time and reset. But I think for the most part, I am so passionate about what I do, and I'm passionate about kicking, and I find so much joy in it that usually if I take a break, by the end of the break, I'm just like itching to get out there again and go and kick and go and work again. And I think that being passionate about what you're doing is something that makes it a lot easier to not get burned out, at least as much. You're going to get burned out doing anything, but it helps when you're passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. If you've never felt burned out, what would you say to someone who feels burned out or feel like quitting their sport?
Yeah, I think first I would say take a break, get away from it, and see what that does. See if that lights a fire. See if that makes you want to go and hit it harder and get back at it. And if it doesn't, then maybe it's about finding a different sport or finding a different hobby or a different passion. If people are working too hard to do something that they're not passionate about or that they don't love, then maybe there's something else out there that they are passionate about and that they can put their focus into. I think everybody gets burned out, but being able to reset and get onto it is a lot easier when it's something that you love doing.
Yeah, being passionate is really important because it won't give you the drive. Like in the fourth quarter, sometimes like I feel burned out of the game and I'm like, oh, I kind of just want to go home right now. I'm like tired. Even like when I'm playing sometimes, while I should be being like, come on, I got to make a play. And then if I am tired and I can do whatever I want to do later today, like this game's not going to go on forever. And I think the passionate part also will make you like, because there's some people I know who are like crazy athletes and can for sure make it, but I just find it interesting when they're not passionate about the sport and when they're like, you know what, I'm not really into football. And I'm like, how? You're like so good at it.
Just dominating everybody.
You're like so good at it. And they're like, yeah, well, it's not my thing, I guess. And I'm like, I don't get it, but I'm like,
it's hard to see. But at the same time, someone who's less talented but loves the game more and is going to work harder at it is going to end up being better at football than someone who is really, really, really talented, but they just don't have the love and they don't want to work for it. So it's better to fall on the passion side than the skilled but not really into it side.
Yeah. It's easy to compare yourself to teammates or people online or people at your position. How do you stay focused on your own journey and not get caught up in that?
Yeah, I think that, like, the world today, you see that a lot. Like, there's social media and there's, in sports, you're competing with different people. And it's easy. I even sometimes get caught up comparing myself to other kickers or looking at things like that. And I just think it's so important to kind of back to that idea of controlling what you can control. Comparison leads to you thinking a ton about different things or over analyzing or over focusing on things that don't matter. But knowing your goals and then controlling what you can control to get to those goals are something that hopefully can keep you focused on yourself and what you have to do. I also think that something that helps with comparison is reaching out and serving others. Comparison, a lot of times, I think it comes from, or I don't know if it comes from or if it leads to people kind of resenting other people. But being able to put others in front of yourself and to serve other people is something that makes everyone's life a little bit better. And then on top of that, setting your own goals and focusing on what you can control within those goals will make your life better and hopefully keep you more concentrated on yourself and less focused on other people. But it's hard, and it's hard to do that, and I struggle with it, and lots of other people struggle with it. But that's kind of the world that we're in right now is so much comparison out there. So
yeah, I struggle with it too.
Yeah.
Like there's kids on my team who already have like college offers, and I'm like, how? Like we're not even in high school yet, and you're getting college offers?
It's crazy. It is crazy.
If you couldn't be a kicker, what position would you want to play just for fun?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm athletic enough to play another position. But if I was, I think I'd want to be a wide receiver. Those guys have a great time. They run a whole lot, but catching a touchdown pass seems like a pretty amazing thing. And I definitely couldn't play wide receiver with my current athleticism. But if I did, I think that's where I would want to play.
No,
little touchdown dances in the end zone. So,
I mean, maybe there's a trick play or something where you can for a play.
That would be cool. We'll have to ask our coach about that one. If we can get me in the end zone.
What's the most clutch kick you've ever made? Like, walk us through it. What was going through your head?
Yeah, I think the default for this one is the Utah game. That's definitely the one that had the most eyes. But I think in my mind, the most clutch kick I've had would have been Oklahoma State of not last season, but the season before, so 2023. We had kind of an off and on season. So we had 5 wins, and we needed a 6th win to make it to a bowl game. And we were kind of on a little bit of a losing streak. And our last game of the season was at Oklahoma State. It's Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's kind of a college town and a huge stadium. And we went and played them, and the sidelines are like tiny. Like the sideline, it's like me to you from the sideline to where the stands start. So we don't really have any room. So I couldn't really kick into the kicking net. But I hit a field goal to go into halftime. And we were up by a lot. It was like, I don't remember exactly what the score was, but we were up by a good amount at halftime. And we were excited, thinking that we were going to make a bowl game. And then the whole second half, so it got dark and it got really rainy. And so it's just constant downpour the whole game. And they started coming back in the second half. So it was pouring rain. I was soaking wet. And I play a lot when our offense is doing really well. And in this situation, their offense was doing really well. So I didn't touch the field the whole second half. I was just standing on the tiny sideline. And eventually they brought the game back within 4 points. And then they scored a touchdown to go up. And so we were down by 3 points with like a minute left in the game, and our offense needed to drive the field. And it looked similar to the end of that Utah game, except we were down by 3 instead of 2. So our offense did an amazing job and drove us into field goal range. And this was like my first experience of like a high pressure kick in college. Like I had kicked field goals throughout the year, but not anything that was like game altering. So this kick was like the first time really since that kick in high school that I've had to deal with like major pressure building up. And I was really nervous. I was a little less experienced than I was for the Utah game, so I felt like that one I handled in a pretty good way. And this one I was like pacing up and down the sideline. I had like that knot in your stomach when you're nervous for something. And we were down by 3, and it was pouring rain, and it ended up being about a 48-yard field goal. So with 3 seconds left in the game. So no matter what, it was going to be the last play. So the last play of our season was either going to be me missing this field goal or I could make it and we would go into overtime, which is a hard place for a kicker to be. Because like the Utah game, if you make the kick, it's this big party and everyone's happy. This one, if you miss the kick, you lose. But if you make the kick, then you go into overtime and see what happens. So I ended up going out, and I approached it well. I've had that same process where I take my steps and I look at my holder and I have my cues that I focus on. So mentally I handled it well, but I was a lot more nervous for that kick than any other kick I've had. And I hit it, and it wasn't the best kick ever, but it stayed straight and it went through, and it was the most I've learned for sure in one play. And it was pretty cool for me to see that I can execute when the pressure's high. And I don't think I'll ever still be in a worse situation than I was at that time. And to see myself be able to execute was pretty cool. And it propelled me to then go on to this next year and do well at the Utah game and hit a big field goal against SMU and the Colorado kicks. And those are easier when I've seen myself perform in a harsher environment. So I think that's probably the moment I think about as the clutchest, even though it's one that fans don't really seem to remember much anymore. But it was cool.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember the game, but not the kick specifically.
Yeah, if I missed it, though, you'd probably remember it.
I'd probably be like,
like that
guy. What's your go-to song before game or lift?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in high school, I was like, everyone's got their pump-up playlist. So I feel like I need to have a pump-up playlist. So I dipped into some rap songs and figured out that wasn't for me pretty quick. Most of the time, if I'm listening to music, it's some cool country music, some Zach Bryan or something
yeah.
like that. But I also, like before the game, I don't really have like a specific thing I listen to. Like I'm not as like superstitious as some people are. Where I've got my country playlist I listen to sometimes, and sometimes I'm just watching other games that are happening on my phone. But I just like to keep it kind of low key, and if we're listening to music, it's country music. But yeah, just keeping it calm. As a kicker, I don't want to get too hyped up. I just like to be calm and go enjoy a football game. So.
That makes sense. A kicker's supposed to be calm.
Yeah. You don't want your kicker listening to Screamo on the bus. That'd be kind of weird. So yeah, it's good though, and I've enjoyed doing it. And something about country music is just nice on the ears, you know.
I like country music too. So
let's go.
If you could sit down and have dinner with any pro athlete, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
It would be Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady is such a stud. Like the way that he handles every little aspect of his life. I think he would be a guy that there would be a ton to learn from in terms of diet and nutrition and preparation and taking care of your body and being a leader with teammates and then just having success on the field. For someone that's probably not the most athletic dude in the world. So
Yeah.
that's what I would choose.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd probably choose Tom Brady too. Like
Yeah.
his story and the way he handles certain things is just credible. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And
He's the GOAT.
yes. What's something about you off the field that fans would be surprised to know?
I think fans would be surprised to know that I am actually a big hockey guy.
Oh, wow.
So in the last, probably 3 or 4 years, I've no background growing up in it, but I served my mission in Canada, and I have an aunt that's from Canada, and I have a little background there. But I've really enjoyed getting into it because I can just be a fan. Like I can just watch it. I can get mad at the players. It's just fun, you know. With football, it's like I'm so into this sport, and I know a lot about it, and I know the people, and so it's harder to just sit back and relax and enjoy it. But I've really enjoyed, especially with the new hockey team here, going to games and watching games and following the players and just being a fan. And I can't skate to save my life at all, but it's fun. It's fun to watch, and I think people probably don't really expect that when they meet me. But
yeah, I guess you were probably really excited for the hockey team coming.
Yeah. It's so cool. And those games are so much fun. I don't know if you've been able to go, but they're pretty sweet.
I've never actually been to a hockey game.
You gotta go.
They're watched
so cool.
one or two, but haven't been to one. If you could give advice to your teenage self, what advice would you say?
I think I would tell my teenage self to find what he's passionate about and go all in on it. I was lucky that I did find that, and I was passionate about kicking and went all in on it. And I think it's one of the best things that I've ever done. But anyone who's young, you will work so much harder and you will excel so much easier at something that you really love doing, whether that's kicking a football or playing basketball or whatever it is. If it's making robots, if it's whatever it is, if you're passionate about it, you can excel at it, and there's no ceiling. But giving all of your time to something that you don't necessarily love or that you don't really feel like you could do for your whole life or something, it's less fun, and you probably don't have as high of a ceiling as you would if you were really passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, I've actually learned about something like that recently, where if you have passion and it was actually interesting. It was passion, love, no ceiling, and positive self-talk. You can actually raise your ceiling and your play 22 to 25% more.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it was crazy that I've learned.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I've found as I've been getting older and I'm seeing sports and different things from a different angle where it's everybody can be amazing. Everybody can be Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not this genetic freak. But you have to love what you're doing, and you have to give a lot of time and a lot of energy and focus to it. And the reason that most people don't get to super high levels of sports or business or whatever is because they don't want to give that time. They don't want to give that energy to it. But if you do, then there's no ceiling for anybody.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Will, huge thanks for hopping in. Your mindset and the way you handle both football and life is next level. Every young athlete can take notes from your journey. Appreciate you big time. Grind Nation, if you love this episode, make sure you subscribe, follow us on socials, and stay locked in for more mindset gems to help you grow on and off the field. Until next time, keep grinding.